Alright, listen up, cabbies. I got your assignments. Riga, 643. Wheeler, 148. Nado, 804. And all of you. You need to join host HP and Father Malone as they examine one of the greatest sitcoms in television history, Taxi, in Night Mr. Walters, a Taxi podcast. Banter, zero, like your boxing record.
Night, Mr. Walters.
We're in Way Media.
Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Anthologies Attack. I'm Father Malone, and with me, back from his exclusive 3-year tour of Europe, Scandinavia, and the subcontinent, my co-host, Mr. Antonio Llsput. How are you, Antonio?
Yes, you see, I was in the Belgian Congo, like by a tribe of pygmies. Hey, how are you? Wasn't that cartoon back in it was like the Hunters Club or whatever, and it was like the old British guy, and he had the mustache.
Yeah, wasn't that part of like Fractured Fairy Tales, the Bullwinkle and the Rocky and Bullwinkle show? It was a segment from that, right?
Yeah, that's it. And he would always start as, I was in the Belgian Congo. He was, then we just kind of go from there.
Quite. Okay, tonight we are taking a look at another animated anthology. Our last one was Fantasia, and this one from director Bruno Bozzetto could be seen as a direct response, a spoof, the satire to that film. From 1976, we are discussing the cult classic Allegro Non Troppo.
Where are they all going?
Into another world fantastic. Allegro Non Troppo, a movie filled with color where laughter comes in all shapes and sizes. Filled with explosive music. Expect the unexpected. Allegro Non Troppo, rated PG.
Allegro Non Troppo released March 12th, 1976. Not the first time I saw it. Was this the first time you saw it?
Yeah, this was the very first time I've seen this picture, and I just watched it this afternoon. It was something else.
Did you have HBO when you were a kid?
I did. Was it on it a lot?
No. However, if you remember, HBO was always set by the hour, sometimes the half hour. But if they were starting a movie, it generally was on the hour.
That's right. It would give you like 20 minutes of, if like Star Wars ended at 2:20, you'd have 10 minutes of like previews, commercials, and like EPKs, really.
Exactly. So if you had your movie ended at 9:35, you had 25 minutes to fill to get to 10 o'clock to start the next feature. They would throw on little shorts and little videos. And one of their animated shorts was the Bolero sequence from this movie. So I had seen that sequence dozens upon dozens of times before I had seen this movie. In fact, I thought it was simply just another short film, like all of those Canadian board, the Board of Canada. Remember all of those short films?
Oh, like the Snowman,
the Big like Snit, or the Cat Back, the Cordell Baker, all of those amazing shorts coming down from Canada.
Snowman is the one I remember the most.
Well, yeah, it's that haunting female over that equally haunting melancholic animation. Speaking of animation, when I first got to Los Angeles, I became a projectionist. My mentor, named Chris Avani, projectionist extraordinaire, who showed me this film on videotape, knowing how much I loved animation and the fact that I hadn't seen it. And he said, "You're going to love this if you've seen Fantasia. It's a direct response to Fantasia." And the thing that I loved about the movie was that I was expecting a movie that just sort of gently pokes fun at Fantasia. This really is the lead character, when he's introducing our film here, basically calls it a Fantasia before he gets a call from the lawyers telling him he needs to knock that shit off because there's a Prisney or a Grisney on the phone.
Yeah. Which is, it was, and that what I can say about that guy is you got to love that jacket.
It is a fantastic jacket. It would make
a fantastic jacket.
Hell of a wallpaper.
Yeah, I just like it was funny, like Hollywood calling. And he apologized. Hey, sorry guys, it's Disney, or Pisney or Wisney or whatever it is. But the way he said it, Disney made me do this. And they go outside and the farmer like unpacks the old ladies from the chicken coop or whatever the hell it is.
See, that's the thing. So that sequence happens. The lawsuit threatened sequence happens, right? And my friend turns to me as if I'm going to be delighted at how they're taking the piss out of Disney here, and I'm like, okay. And then they go to get the orchestra, which, as you're saying, is a pen of like old Italian grannies.
Yeah, it was so weird.
They're at the pound, basically. And then they round up these old women, pack them up, and bring them to the theater, and they're the orchestra.
And then they've got the artist chained up like in the dungeon.
Artist, the animator. This movie posits that animated films are made on the fly by one human
with a magnificent mustache. It's just so out there, and I'm like, is this Italian comedy? Is this what it is? Like,
oh, okay. 100%, yeah.
Like everything. That's the thing about Italian cinema. Like Italian cinema, if there's one unifying theme in Italian cinema, it's weird. Italian cinema is wacky. I don't know how else to put it. Everything is very dreamlike, basically. I think everything is a dream.
There tends to be an absurdist quality to nearly every piece of entertainment I've seen coming out of Italy.
Yeah, and I mean, I took Italian cinema in school way back when, and I got all the best. I like Fellini. I love 8.5, but 8.5, I love 8.5 because it's a fever dream about a horny middle-aged director. I kind of know what that's like. But it doesn't make any sense, but it's really cool to watch. And every time you watch it, you're going to get something new out of it, but still they're weird. I remember there was way back in the 90s that I looked, Cemetery Man. It was an Italian picture and it was about
Rupert Everett.
And it was a great movie, and you watch it. It's also a fun zombie movie. And by the end of it, it's just got this batshit crazy ending where he's stuck in a snow globe, and the mentally challenged caretakers. That it's like, what? But I go, just Italian movies, man. Like the most straightforward thing you can get is a horror comedy about zombies. And
Della Morte dell'Amore is the actual title of the film in Italian.
Yeah, but his name was like Rupert Della Morte or something like that too in the movie. Yeah, Della Morte dell'Amore. It's a great movie, man.
It is a fantastic movie, wildly overlooked from 1994. Yeah, because, in 94, no one gave a shit about zombies. But
like Italian cinema always has this, like you said, that absurdist stuff. The one I remember, what was the one with Anthony Quinn, and he's the circus strongman? Is that La Strada? No, right? Yeah.
I think it is La Strada.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
Name some more Italian directors.
Well, the other guys, and what's his name?
Michelangelo Antonioni?
Yeah, Michelangelo Antonioni did Blow Up.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
Just in a class by itself, that film.
Yeah. And
hard to quantify what's so good about it, De Palma basically remade that film.
Yeah, that was where they go there. De Palma remade that film, but De Palma remade that film. De Palma took that original film and then made a movie out of it.
Right.
That is logical, right? And it's a thriller, and it's this Blow Up isn't that at all, man.
It's all mood.
It's all mood. It's all style. It's all cool. It doesn't resolve itself. The end is like two mimes playing invisible tennis. Like it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense, and it doesn't matter because it's just 20 minutes of mid-60s cool with awesome suits and guys smoking cigarettes and girls in mini skirts. And you're just like, what the kids put in, it's a vibe, that movie. Pier Paolo Pasolini did one of the coolest Jesus movies ever, the Gospel of St. Matthew, and he shoots it like a documentary. And it's also like a dream sequence. Everything is really floaty and this and that. And then he cuts this kind of handheld jittery things and like almost like interview shots and stuff like that. And Scorsese, like, that's what made him want to do Last Temptation, was that style. And I'm pretty sure his new one coming out with Spider-Man
Tom Holland?
No, the second
Andrew
Garfield playing like a modern Jesus, whatever. Scorsese's been talking about that movie for 100 years. I mean, he wants to do Jesus with guys in business suits and stuff, but he's going to shoot it just like that Pasolini movie. I guarantee it. There's no hands.
All of your Italian choices are so high-minded.
No, that's what I saw in college, man. And then at the other end, you've got the king of all movies. You got Dino De Laurentiis, producer extraordinaire.
That is true.
Who gave me just a bunch of schlock that I loved to death when I was a kid. You know how many times I watched the Hercules movies with Lou Ferrigno? But of course, the greatest Italian filmmaker of them all is one of the greatest filmmakers who ever walked the face of the earth, a man called Sergio Leone, creator of the greatest Western of all time, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and the other two greatest Westerns of all time, Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. Sergio Leone is God.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Once Upon a Time in the West, fucking harmonica.
Hello, yeah.
And how do you take the quintessential good guy, Mr. Morality Hollywood, young Abraham Lincoln, Henry Fonda, and then just make him the worst villain you ever fucking saw in your life, and it's magnificent. And somewhere Harrison Ford is smoking a big fat joint, watching that movie on Turner Classic Movie, going, man, why did I ever get to do one of these things? Because that's the equivalent, that's Henry Fonda was that, and just I gotta go watch that again. It's been a few years since I've seen Once Upon a Time in the West. The greatest title ever.
Since I said the title, all I can picture are Henry Fonda's steely blue eyes. His once comforting, cloud-like eyes, now steely and psychotic.
Yeah, and leathery.
Oof.
Just leathery.
You know who co-wrote that movie? Mr. Dario Argento.
And that's the other big name in Italian cinema, the Suspiria Dario Argento.
The Seven Flies on Gray Velvet, the bird with the crystal plumage. If there's a wacky title, he's gunning for it.
And sire of, what's her name?
Asia Argento.
Asia Argento, big giant crush from 2001 of mine. Oh, yeah.
Oh, crush to this day. Since laid eyes on her, she is something else entirely.
And yeah, so fine, she drove poor Anthony Bourdain to death.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
You cannot blame her for his troubled brain.
God bless. I know. I'm sorry. God bless him. But man, she's fine. Nutty too, though. Absolutely nutty. But like Italian cinema is really rich. It's fun to take a deep dive into it because they have a really unique perspective on cinema. Everything, like you said, it's absurd, it's dreamlike, it's wacky, it's sexy, and when the violence works, it's really fun.
I often wonder with comedies from other countries. Now, clearly, visual gags and slapstick just translate universally.
Sure, a fart is funny in any language.
But I wonder sometimes the tone of the comedy, particularly when it comes to slapstick, which we get a heaping helping here in Allegro Non Troppo. I'm wondering if I were sitting in a cinema in Milan watching Allegro Non Troppo with the contemporary audience, are they guffawing? Are they laughing out loud at this humor?
Yeah, I don't know. In 1976, maybe? I don't know. There's one thing I know about Italian movies. I never think any of them were funny, intentionally anyways.
I mean, this might be the same question I have about most American sitcoms. Are people laughing at this, or is it just like they're doing it because they think it's funny or they know that that's what the people think is funny? I don't know, because there are some jokes that work here. Obviously, we're giggling about the premise more than the execution, which is
Sure, I wrote down one gag that works really well is the guy opening the bottle of champagne in one of the live action sequences. He pops the champagne cork and it knocks a lady over and she ends up in the hospital or something. But the editing is good and the gag works and the gag plays, you know.
now
But then it does.
when we watched Fantasia, we kind of bemoaned the Deems Taylorness of it all.
Oh my God, I was missing Deems Taylor watching this.
You wanted Deems to come out and hip you to the next piece and not just watch a ridiculous piece of comedy meant for nothing and nobody and not really linking anything at all. Do you know there's a version of this film without the live action?
There is, huh?
There's a cut where they just have sort of clay lettering telling you the name of the next piece of music, and then it just goes right into it. It's 10 minutes shorter.
There's only 10 minutes of that?
Yeah. Can you believe that? No, because I believe there's still some of it, like the setup in the ending, because there kind of has to be the ending because there's so much live action animation sort of interaction there at the end.
Okay. You know,
but I guess my point is, or what I'm wondering is, do you think it would have played better without?
Oh yeah, I think so. And a little bit of it, I think would give it some flavor, but they just went overboard with it. It's just like these gags would just go on and on and on and on, and it was just like, you know, you can do one gag and then just move on and you're fine. You didn't need to go this whole thing. There was like subplots with the waitress girl and the conductor, and I don't even think it was. I know it's meant to be stream of conscience. But like it was making Magical Mystery Tour look like, you know, 30 Rock. That's how like
it's very unfocused and all over the place. But you know, those tend to be strengths in Italian film, so I can't really fault them for that. And I don't fault them at all for even trying all of the sort of physical comedy that's going on. I just wish it was all edited by half at least. If each of the segments were half their current length, I think it would make the point and move on. Maybe that's a 2024 sensibility that I just want to get to shit already. That attitude doesn't carry over to the shorts, by the way. I'm perfectly at ease letting them play out as long as or as short as they want to be. They're each little pieces of wonder. But this linking device, the joke to me ended with, we've rounded up these grannies and they're our orchestra.
And I think because my reaction to this was up and down, and like the live action stuff takes away from it. It just kind of takes away from it. And it's just, man, this just reminds me of some college kid in you know, his production 3 class. He's the weird one, you know, or remember in the Doors movie where like, you know, Jim Morrison's film class.
Yeah.
And, you know, he just makes this wacky thing of just random stuff edited together and him reading poetry and Hitler and yada, yada, yada. That's what I get from it. Here's some random stuff for being weird. And I didn't quite.
I agree with you about that. I don't think I think we need it just a little bit, just a smidge, a skosh, as they say.
Because it wasn't even like verbal gag. Like it wasn't even dialogue gags. They were all visual gags. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
I will say, because I said when the movie began and my friend said it's this vicious takedown of Disney, and I was like, what the hell are you even talking about? Once they rounded the grannies up, the lead character does effectively turn to the camera and say, would Disney do this? And that made me laugh so fucking hard.
Yeah, when they kidnap a bunch of grannies.
Yeah, but this is all just prelude. As Fantasia as it is, it really is. I'm shocked at how much it is. It's not necessarily in the same sequence. It isn't an analog. Not all of them are one for one sort of question.
But there are moments. Definitely the Bolero with all the
Bolero and the first segment, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Because the first segment is sent to Claude Debussy's Prelude. Oh, I'm not. It's basically the Faun. I'm not going to mangle the French here, but the story we're given is this one. It's not the Rite of Spring. That's the dinosaur sequence from Fantasia. We know what it is. It's all the satyrs and we talked about it. They're sort of very gentle bacchanal. But here we get a satyr who is still lusty and full of virility in his mind, but he is an elderly one who can't find a mate. And that's basically it. It's him trying to snare a woman. And every time he almost does so, he gets a look of such menace and it's frightening. It's a frightening look.
Yeah, it's bad because I'm just like, I'm single. I'm thinking, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm like, my beard's getting lighter. I can sympathize with this horny little fucker. But I think he's his own worst enemy because maybe if he'd just be himself, one of those hot nude Italian cartoon ladies would pay him mind. But instead, he's constantly trying to change his appearance and do everything to make himself look phony and younger. There's a point where he looked like Rudy Giuliani, sweating down with like his hair dye sweating down his face when he's giving one of those stupid press conferences during that last election.
Yeah, he has some helpful woodland friends who jump in and fucking make him up and make him look attractive to the ladies, and it's working. And then the dummy jumps into the fucking lake.
Yeah,
what are you doing, Satyr? I'm on your side.
I feel bad, but I was just like, oh, look, boobs, and there's just boobs everywhere.
Oh yes, let's talk about that. The Italians are not shy.
No, the Italian, hey, we love the good boob, but yeah,
there's no strategically placed hair cascading down a female satyr's breasts in this one. These are just nude human women running around, and they're free and they're hippies and they're green in some cases.
And he just can't. And by the end of it, there's a boob tree and like.
Yeah, is he completely wigging out?
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh look, I've been walking around on a giant boob all along.
Well, what's funny is with each dejection, he gets smaller and smaller until he effectively is doomed to walk the geography of a woman's body.
We've all been there, though.
We've all been there.
The Italians don't love, man.
I think I might be there now. This was great. I loved this one. I mean,
it's cute.
It's like, cute and bittersweet, and has that slight melancholic flavor that tends to come out of Europe, especially for entertainment that was at least once considered just for children.
I'd like to see a remastered version of it because, like, it's available just on YouTube, and it looks awful. So, like, I really like to see those colors pop and stuff because, like, I know that's got to be brilliant because it's so drab in the black and white sequences. So I'm imagining the color must be gorgeous and stuff. But man, it's not. It doesn't. Their transfer isn't great. So I'd love to see it new.
I myself have not seen a newer transfer of it, but I did not watch the YouTube version of it. I have a version of it that I digitally got a long time ago, but I have seen this on the big screen with a 35 millimeter print that was dubbed. So it was unusual to hear the voice actor for the English language dubbed version is doing an Italian accent. It's very disconcerting.
Hey, hello, welcome.
It's like that. Forget about like that. Like what? Why? Don't do that. So that's the version I saw initially. Oh, whatever. What am I talking about? Let's move on to Dvorak.
Let's move on.
Antonin Dvorak's Slavonic Dance No. 7, Opus 46. This one is very brief, and it's very impressionistic. It's like a caveman or a cave dweller rather, because it's not really a man, it's more of this weirdo creature who everyone in his community just copies everything he does, right?
Yeah. And
so he starts doing more and more outlandish things, and they do more and more outlandish things. I'm sure there's some socio-political commentary going on here.
Because it ends up being them being all fascists by the end of it.
Which they know a thing or two about in Italy.
Yes, they know a thing or two about that. They even had an Italian red skull at one point.
Il Duce.
And no one ran around calling him El Duce.
They did, quietly. What did you say? El Duce.
Oh, El Duce, yes. It looked like a Sesame Street cartoon. It kind of reminded me of a little bit. Like Absolutely. The guy, what was the guy on the cup that like was like animated on the glass, and like the glass would move around? You can see the little guy run around the glass.
I don't know the character's name, but I do know the character you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminded me of a little bit.
Yeah, we should point out, like Fantasia, the styles of animation change wildly from piece to piece. And that's very welcome, but in no way copying any of the Disney style. Like I say, the Disney style changes from piece to piece, but did it really? It just got either more realistic or more impressionistic or more sort of cartoony, but it was still that beautiful painted style. This feels like different animators.
Yeah, and it's real like It's not super complicated or anything like that. And you can definitely see they don't have Disney money to animate it. But then, neither did Yellow Submarine, and they made that in 6 months, and for $3 in England, and that thing is a masterpiece. So I don't know. I think.
Well, I'm in no way comparing the quality of the animation between them and Disney. I think this is just as good as Disney. It's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing. It's charming, but it doesn't have that production value that Disney has.
Right. It all of this animation feels like Disney would have done one more pass on everything. There would have been one more layer to make it beautiful. But part of its charm is its sort of rough-hewn quality, I think.
Although the animation really takes a good, nice leap during the Bolero sequence, though.
Oh, it's unparalleled there.
It's really nice in the Bolero sequence.
And in a lot of the effect, we'll get to that. Okay. So the Slavonic dance, yes, they do become fascist, basically. So he starts abusing himself and they start abusing themselves, which is pretty funny because everyone loves somebody smacking themselves in the head. But he's getting angrier and angrier that they're becoming more and more like him. But then here's the thing. So then they effectively turn into the army, some fascist army, and he tries to lead them by jumping off a cliff, hoping they will, like lemmings, follow him over. But then they don't. And he comes back up, and then they moon him. That's the end. What's the message?
The commentary, I think, is that people will follow a lunatic to a point. They're gonna always come to a point where the guy's like, all right, we've had enough of this guy.
Yeah, I can see that. So is that a turning point for society? Hopefully they'll stop their fascistic ways, even though they're all mooning in unison.
And Italy elected like Mussolini's granddaughter. So
oof. This one was
in all fairness, when I was in high school or something, they had a porn star in their parliament. So
I remember her. She was magnificent.
Yes, she was.
I was proud of Italy at that time. I'm also proud of Italy for our next segment. As you mentioned, Maurice Ravel's, or is it Morris? We use the English version, Morris. It's Ravel's Bolero. This is the literal centerpiece of the movie.
Yeah.
I remembered it for some reason being the closing segment of the movie, but that just may be because of my familiarity with this. This is the tale of an astronaut and a bottle of Coca-Cola. It begins with a astronaut throwing a bottle of Coke that still has a bit at the bottom, and then they blast off, leaving it there. And then we watch as the little speck of Coca-Cola becomes animate and then sentient and then crawls out. And then we watch as life evolves in many varied forms from this initial bottle of Coke. And because Bolero is a march, you can imagine this is a progression forward of evolution. This is just like the Rite of Spring from Fantasia.
They keep going, though.
Yes, exactly. And they go in wackier ways. None of these are creatures. These are not dinosaurs. This isn't Earth until it is.
Yeah. And they're not dinosaurs until they are. And eventually they wander, and then there's a building.
It's pretty magnificent. It's pretty magnificent.
It's really nice. It was the best part of the movie.
You mentioned the animation, it's so free, it's so fluid and amorphous and still to the beat. This must have been a fucking nightmare to have animated.
Well, the stuff has it's kind of liquidy too. It's very, Disney stuff is very precise. This is more impressionistic. This is a little flowy.
Even splashes in a Disney movie are geometric. This feels like a formless mass of liquid.
I feel like, again, when I recall the animated sequences, I'm like, oh, these are pretty good. But that live action just
right. It deadens your enjoyment of the film overall, right?
Because the minute you're really liking it, and oh, it's over. I want more animation. Here I am. I'm going to spin some plates now for you. I'm like,
it doesn't. It never pays to cut to vaudeville. This isn't Hell's a Poppin'.
But those live action sequences, when the cliches of foreign films, you always, the American cliches of what foreign films are like. That's it right there.
Kind of laid out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wackiness and obtuseness and
the least they can't even give me a Sophia Loren lookalike to at least soften the blow. No.
Well, the villain here in the piece, it should be said, shows up at about halfway through the movement, a furry little gorilla who shows up separate from all the other evolution going on. Notice he's not. All of the creatures, like it or not, have come from that central Coca-Cola bottle. This other hairy mammal just shows up on his own and is a fucking troublemaker.
He sure is. Was it by the end of it? He's like, there's a man and he's like driving a man suit.
It's super impressionistic. So
Yeah.
the little ape, as evolution is progressing, we see him basic. This is so much better than the Rite of Spring Fantasia, as far as far as
deals with it. Yeah.
as a picture of actual evolution, right? And the progression of time, because not only are we watching as life in its varied forms sort of evolves, but we get to watch what is effectively human civilization as it's occurring, because the little ape starts killing others for warmth. This one's furry. I'll take that fur. This one has a shell. I can use that as a boat. Hey, lightning lit this on fire. What can I do with this fire? And that part is my favorite part of the entire piece, when he's mesmerized by his flaming torch, realizes its power, that it can burn and just decimate anything around him. And then you'll notice he leaves again.
Yeah,
He's sure all on his own. So while the rest of these creatures are continuing to evolve past the pyramids, past the crucifixion cross, as we get closer and closer to time, then they run into a freeway in a city, and there's a giant man overseeing all of it. But still, in this evolved human being who has created all this beautiful civilization, if you crack open that skull, the fucking monkey's still in there.
Yep. Now, is that supposed to be the same monkey running around the live action?
Why bring up the live action?
But the ape.
But listen, first of all, it's a terrible monkey suit.
It is an awful monkey suit. I'm trying. Is it supposed to be a gorilla, or is it supposed to be a guy in a gorilla suit?
Right. It's so poor that's what we have to like. Is this a bit they're doing, or is that supposed to be the monkey has escaped from the previous segment?
Well, if you notice, some of the other animated characters escape from the cartoon.
But they remain animated.
And remain animated and in color. Even there's that one little guy on the paper that gets burned to death.
I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah.
That is Senor Rossi. Bruno Bozzetto, when he was 20 years old, created his short first film, which was the history of weapons. But soon after created this character, Senor Rossi, and he appeared in a bunch of shorts and then starred in 3 features. The reason he was able to do Allegro Non Troppo is because he had so much success with that little character. So that's actually a cameo.
Oh, wow. And then he's burning him.
He burns him up. It's really weird.
Yeah, fucking bless those Italians, man.
Bless the Italians.
They got something going on in that spaghetti.
And they want to make you cry, and they fucking succeed. In our next segment, is Jean Sibelius's Valse Triste. The play that the piece of music is from is an elderly woman who rouses from bed late one night because she hears music and dancing, and it's this piece of music. And the more she dances, the more these other figures appear and dance with her. And we realize at the end, when she dances her way to the door and opens the door and death is waiting for her, that those were ghosts all along. And now it's her time to go. So Bruno Bozzetto has taken that piece of music with that history and set it in a demolished house. And I'm going to cry fucking talking about it. And the cat that is still haunting it, even though the family is gone. Could you just take it? I'm going to cry.
Oh, yeah. That's what I noticed. I'm like, wow, the animation is really nice. I love how you can see the rooms growing and all that stuff. And I'm just like, oh, this poor cat.
The cat is imagining, and it's live action.
Live action people walking through this cat's memory. And it's really heartbreaking. It's very sad. And at the end, they demolish the whole fucking house. And it's just like, ugh.
It's really heartbreaking because the cat is living in these memories, these happy memories, and then we keep coming back to the fucking hard meat hook reality of what's actually going on. And then before the wrecking ball, beautifully animated wrecking ball should be noted, before that falls, the cat itself fades and disappears. Now, my question to you, Antonio, given the previous thing that this is based on, was the cat alive the whole time and we just saw it die, or was it a ghost the whole time? And say it was a ghost because I'm going to feel really, really awful.
Oh yeah, no, it was a ghost.
To death.
It's just it's a psychic echo. The cat is living on a farm in Tuscany.
Okay.
Yes. He's having white pasta with.
He's having a good time. He's playing every day.
Yeah, Diane Lane moved there and she adopted the cat.
Right. That's what I have to believe now because this one tears my heart out. And
Yeah.
here is the only time where cutting back afterwards to the live action to me was worth it, where he cuts to all the old Italian grannies weeping and weeping and weeping. And suddenly, the first time I saw this, I was bawling like an idiot. In fact, I was crying again here. And it feels like such a fuck you from Bruno Bozzetto, cutting back to these old women like, look at you, you emotional fools. Look what we've done and how we've manipulated you. I admire him and am mad at him.
It's a very sweet sequence and it sucks. It's so sad.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to here. Okay, this is a New Yorker cartoon kind of. We go to Vivaldi's Concerto in C major. This one is here. The animation is the star. It's just a female bee trying to have a picnic, trying to have the perfect meal, and these fucking couple shows up in her field, and they're all in love. So they're rolling around and making shit fucking tense.
Yeah, that was funny. But like the animation, I liked the animation of the bee lady though. I thought it was a nice design. That was probably the most Disney-esque looking piece in the whole thing.
And in contrast to it, what I took away from it, the couple, they're drawn, it's not watercolor, but they are painted. But the remarkable feature there is there's no outline on them.
Yeah.
There's not even a hint of a black line there.
No, it's really just the end, but maybe that's the way the bee sees it.
It's startling that all the real world stuff doesn't have outlines. And then, as you said, she's really cartoony with a hard black line on her.
Yeah. I like how the bee escapes into the live action.
Right. But
yeah.
But she remains animated. So we're going to close the book that that's just a fucking lunatic in a really bad monkey costume chasing the sound of the previous segment.
It's another PA.
Okay. This is our final sequence, although it's not the final sequence because we're going to get a smorgasbord of finales immediately afterwards, set to Igor Stravinsky's The Firebird. Interestingly, that they used it in Fantasia 2000 as well. Not saying that they've seen this movie. Not that Ward Kimball, one of the original Walt Disney animators, after seeing this movie, immediately started showing it to his students in his animation class as the Bolero sequence in particular, as an example of how you should be animating these days. Okay, so what we're given here is this one's really impressionistic, kind of. It's the book of Genesis, but kind of. Yeah. It's very impressionistic. It's the serpent, but the serpent is there to tempt Adam and Eve, but then the serpent himself becomes tempted. It's like the last temptation of Lucifer, because all of these demons show up to offer him all of these other things, even though like he's doing his best to get that fucking fruit with the tree from the tree of knowledge into Adam and Eve's hands. They're just not going for it.
Then he eats it. And
oh boy.
And I'm just like, well, he's a carnivore. He shouldn't be eating fruits and vegetables. He's going to have a tummy ache and have nightmares about demons.
Maybe that's just what it was.
And about having pants.
Yeah, because he grows arms and legs now he's eaten from the tree of knowledge. Yeah. I love this segment, honestly.
I thought it was like trying to figure out what was going on. And you're like, evil eye, live action hands, claymation. Oh, Adam and Eve. And I don't know.
What a twist.
And the guy's dong, looked like a middle finger.
It did.
I don't know. I'm just saying. That's what it looked like.
I think that's just the non-offensive animator way of drawing a dong. Just a little squiggle.
Just a little squiggle.
An upside down hand.
So the snake gets all the temptations of man, I guess. Like he goes through the whole human cycle. Basically.
Yes, he's tempted by money and drugs and sex and violence and just material objects. Oh, give me that washing machine.
And by the end of it, he's like, "Oh, this isn't worth it. Fuck it." And he like just leaves the movie. Like he gets up, slithers, takes off the man's suit, slithers off into the live action, then off screen and into.
He's like, fuck it. This movie ends
It's
with
meta.
the devil as the hero.
Yeah.
Figures out God's game sucks. And he's don't want to be a part of it at all.
But I like how the meta, this movie is, I like it. They're now talking about it. I like it more. The meta nature of the fuck this, I'm leaving the movie. And he gets up and he leaves. Very, very Warner Brothers. It's very Tex Avery. So it's really like leaning into the tradition of cartoon absurdity, but it really plays here. Yeah, it's one of the more interesting sequences.
But then they double down because they have to. We go back to our live action. They don't have a finale now because the fucking snake took off. And so they call down to this Igor-like character. What's his name? Franceschini. It's basically like a Frankenstein Igor type character who's tasked with going and finding a finale, which I love because he has to go down into the basement where there's like a tiny stack of tiny prosceniums.
And then he starts watching them and he's like, and I'm just like, okay, he's making fun of the audience now. Yeah.
So, he dispenses with a few of them, and then he ends up on one where it's just this like series of escalating fucking tragedies, ending with the 1970s go-to for animated shorts, nuclear war.
There was a lot of that.
You know what's so funny? Like watching it now, the casual nature and just the sort of inevitability of nuclear war as a viable ending to your piece. This isn't the first short film I've seen that ends with missiles flying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like they're not the first 70s movie with that just dystopian downer ending. That's what made a lot of those 70s movies, that parallax view ending, Or there's that Simpsons, what are you doing? Oh, I'm watching this science fiction movie from the 70s. And it ends with a guy like ripping he's like, oh, baby, I love you. And he takes his face off and it's a robot. And it's like, down, pulls away and it's dystopia and it's awful. I'm like, it's
70s movies.
Well, it ends with the guy being trapped in the little model proscenium, the live action guy.
That's true, because then we pull back even further to find out that's the case. What?
Yeah. And Franceschini, the oaf, is watching him.
And the ending is effectively given to Satan, who pops back up to just say goodbye. He returns to the movie at the end. Literally at the end. And it says happy end. It doesn't say...
Yeah, that wasn't a happy end. That was just like, huh? This is what the Americans say. Yes, okay, happy end.
This is such an Italian movie.
Yeah, it is so Italian. It is so Italian. This is as Italian as Fantastic Planet is French.
Yes. And this one, I don't know if this reminds me of that at all. I don't think it does, other than that kind of...
This is distinctly a movie that only we could have made in this country.
Right.
England is the only country that could have made the Plague Dogs.
Or what was that? When the Wind Blows? That animated couple living in the aftermath of a nuclear war.
Have you ever seen the Plague Dogs?
No, I haven't, and now I kind of don't want to.
Plague Dogs no, you shouldn't watch the Plague Dogs. Not after your reaction to the cat part.
Okay. No, yeah, man.
It's an animated film about dogs that escape a testing facility.
Oh Jesus, no, thank you.
Yeah. And it is the saddest movie in the history of mankind. Makes Watership Down look like Disney romp. Makes A Secret in Nim look like American Tail. Like I don't know. Like it's depressing to watch it.
Bible goes west.
It's like, what's the one that was it? Grave of the Fireflies or Barefoot Jen? It's an anime about the aftermath of
Hiroshima. Yeah, oh yeah, I remember both of them.
Which one is that one? Is that
both of them?
They're both of them about that.
Yeah, man.
But that's good though.
Right.
America, we don't go that sad on animation over here, but
yeah, we don't go really on adult animation at all.
No, we don't. Although we also make Coco. So, you know what I mean? Like, for all the faults American animation has, and Disney has, they still make Coco.
Yeah, no, not complaining about what we're good at, but maybe we can be good at other things too.
We can be good at other things, though. I'd really like to see hand-drawn 2D animation again, it's sad that like even when it's done, you can tell how cheap it is because you can't afford it.
Geez, this movie was prescient. Now it really is just one guy chained to a desk.
Yeah, really. Like, what did I just watch, which was pretty good, was that Zack Snyder's Norse
Oh, those,
Fight
yeah.
of the Gods.
Fun that.
It's very Zack Snydery. His craziness works better in animation. But the animation, while stylistic and pretty and all that stuff, you can tell that, oh, this is done now in After Effects. They're not doing this.
Oh, yeah.
They're rigging a 2D model and animating that rather than drawing 24 frames a second and stuff. So, and like some of the recent DC animated films are done in that same kind of rigged animated, rigged After Effects style. So it's not quite 3D, but it's not 2D.
It feels
either.
off.
Yeah, but it worked. The rigged they used 3D models and cell shaded on that Blue-Eyed Samurai. That looks it's a beautiful cartoon.
I have to watch that. People keep telling me to watch that, but it's in my queue.
Dude, there's so much to watch. You're never gonna go, But this movie, it get through, and I think most of it had to do with that live action. Just takes you out of it, man.
Literally takes you out of it. It's really distracting. So, I mean, I do want them to restore this film and put it out in the best possible way, but I also want both versions.
Yeah. There's one thing to be said about Fantasia is that, the Deems Taylor guy, the stuff in there, but their cutter, he cut that movie, she cut that movie, they cut that movie, and they kept the pace going. Yeah, the guys came out and talked, but that thing was never, Deems was never on screen for more than 30 seconds.
I was never bored by Deems. I was annoyed that we weren't just flowing into the next animation.
Yeah, but I wasn't bored by him. No, this troop of wackiness was just like, I should have left it. Should have left it at home, man. But it's neat to see animation from other countries and see how they interpret stuff. Italian comics are really nice, really pretty too, like Italian comic books.
Fumetti.
Yeah, and what's the guy that draws all the sexy women? Milo Manara.
Ah.
He would draw all those really sexy books. And there was, Dylan Dog, that's another comic. And there's a lot of cool comics from Italy that I just think the art is just, spectacular.
A couple of years ago, I read all of the Diabolic Fumetti.
Yeah, Diabolic.
Yeah, man. So good. Those were great, those comics. He's really amoral in those early
the
ones before he becomes Mr. Robin Hood. He's just wasting people for no reason.
I'm surprised that Hollywood hasn't jumped on that.
I hope they don't, because there's no way you can recreate the gorgeous cinematic triumph that is Danger Diabolic, directed by Mario Bava, my favorite Italian filmmaker, by the way.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I've never seen it.
Ah!
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, my God, you're in for a fucking treat.
Okay, I'll add it. I liked Lady Snowblood.
Oh, my God, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend me to watch me that. Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll find it.
Yeah, if you can't, I will provide it. I know I own that movie. I mean, it's one of my.
I just always thought that mask was really cool.
Oh my God, he's so good in it. Fucking John Philip Law. Oh, now I'm gonna watch. I gotta go watch that now.
Okay. Well, this was a good one. This was a unique picture, man. Definitely was, and it's a nice counterpoint to the Fantasia.
It was. I'm glad we did it. I was gonna skip it, and then you were like insistent. I'm glad you were, because
no, I'm like, yeah, you mentioned it. I'm like, well, there's an Italian Fantasia. We should watch it.
Hell yeah! This was
I would have had a nice, nice bowl of pasta with me.
Yeah, this one flows along. You know what I mean? I highly recommend this movie. You're going to be annoyed by the comedy bits, but
and you can find it on YouTube. You can just skip through those guys.
Exactly. Even if you had it on a physical disc, the fast forward button is there.
Yes.
We want to thank you all for joining us here on Midnight Viewing Anthologies Attack. Until next time, where can people find you if they're looking for you, Mr. Lepore?
Well, you can find us at spacedetectivemovie.com and swamp.com. And keep an eye out for a local film festival. Our new movie, At Living Ben, has just entered the film festival runs, and we'll be having a premiere pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll be keeping you updated on all of that. If you want to find me, well, you're listening to the show that I mainly do, although I sometimes guest over on CultureCast. Did that a lot this past month. Go check out those. I programmed the month, actually. Also, you can hear me over on Night Mr. Walters, the Taxi podcast I do with co-host HP, who does the music for this show. If you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/FatherMalone. Subscribers get episodes early and commercial free. And we are cooking up a whole bunch of Patreon-only bonus episodes that are going to be really super fucking cool. So check that out. And if money's tight, and God knows it is for all of us, you can do us a massive favor by just giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or at the very least, just tell your friends. Until next time, I still haven't figured out a line here.
Yeah, until next time, keep your anthologies attacking.
And you know what? No.